Okay, let's start. First, thank you for coming here, and thank you to the organization to inviting me to be here. It's the first time for me in Kiev. Thank you so much. And today we are here to talk about ASP.NET Core 2, that is the new version of the ASP.NET Core. Let me spend 1 minute to introduce myself, just because in case after the session you need to contact me for everything. Maybe it's not clear, you want the demo or slides or whatever. Here are my contacts. Feel free to contact me as you wish from my website, my Twitter account, email, or whatever. Doesn't matter. And more or less, this is the agenda. The first part, from starter faster to RADs or view compilation diagnostic, is related to ASP.NET Core. The latest one is a bit introduction of the new version of SignalR. That is a framework made to create a real-time web application, and not only web application. Okay. First of all, before to start with some slides, and if you want to use ASP.NET Core, you have to install it. You have a different way to do that. You can install Visual Studio in case you are on Windows machine and you get everything for free. Otherwise, you have to go on the ASP.NET website. This is www.asp.net, and you have download.NET Core. Choose your environment, if it's Windows, Linux, Mac, or whatever, and you have the script, and you can download and install the SDK. Of course, exactly in the same way of the previous version, you are free to use whatever you like to write the code. If you prefer VS Code, you can use it, Visual Studio or Visual Studio for Mac, doesn't matter. Okay, let's talk better about ASP.NET Core 2. First thing, ASP.NET Core 2 is called 2 just because it requires .NET Standard 2. It's not a real version 2. As I'll show you very soon, there's no big difference between the old version and the new version. Basically, you can run the same code you already wrote in the 1.1 on the 2.0 without changing anything, just change the runtime. It's the same, more or less the same. If you want, you can use new features like RADs or pages, okay? But probably the right version number will be 1.5. We are talking about the .NET Standard 2. Also, first, as I told you, because it is required by ASP.NET 2, but also because it introduced a lot of new features that you can already use, more than 20K APIs in the .NET Standard 1.x. It's a huge difference. And more than 70% of the packages that right now you have on NuGet are available and works fine with the .NET Standard 2. You don't have to recompile it. You have to just add the reference and it works. Why 70% and not 100% is pretty simple, because the .NET Standard has the scope to define something that is cross-platform, because our code must run on Windows or Linux or Mac and whatever. Some of the APIs that are available only on Windows are not available on the .NET Standard. For example, if your packages that is right now on the 30% of the NuGet is using DirectX, it will never be compatible with the .NET Standard. That's my reason. DirectX or Message Queue or whatever, okay? Because it's something really specific for Windows. What is included inside the .NET Standard 2? More or less, this is the main categories. You have a lot of things inside the data set, the data table for the, probably if you work out of the web, you know these kind of things. You have data contract serialization, socket, HTTP compression, a lot of things that were missing in the previous version. These also, let me show before to proceed an important things that makes more clear the difference between the old version and the new one. This is the official repo on GitHub for the .NET Standard. The .NET Standard 1.6 released more or less, not more or less, exactly these APIs. This is the number of the APIs released with the .NET Standard 1.6. We have just 3 new APIs on system, 2 on system.link, nothing special. Let's see what means with the .NET Standard 2. First of all, the list is huge. This is everything we have, we can use in our application. And for example, system data introduce 1,400 APIs just for system data. It's a lot of things. It means that right now, ASP.NET Core is mature. What does it mean, mature? Oops. That you can use for enterprise application to do something more than the basic website. You can use it in a real complex application. In fact, one of the main things that I think is really important is the Kestrel. With the first version of Kestrel, that is the web server used for ASP.NET Core, the team always said that don't use it in production as is, just put behind a proxy another web server. In fact, in Azure, if you try to use a .NET Core application, you have IIS in front of your web application. In this case, because they are saying, now we are ready, it's mature, you can use directly, expose your web server, your Kestrel outside of the network because it's fast, it's secure, and it's okay, we are ready to go in production. So it's a good product. Okay, let's go to write some code. I think the best way to understand the main difference between the new version and the old one is migrate an application from the old one to the new one. Browse. Okay, I'm creating a simple web application with MVC that comes out of the box with the template in Visual Studio. Tick-tack, tick-tack. Come on. Okay, it's starting. And here, there is a low. The application is ready. As you can see on the right, we have the console application, the logging is working, I can navigate, everything is good. Perfect. But it's running on .NET Core 1.1. We have to migrate it to the new one. Okay? So the first thing to do is just right-click on the project, or if you are not using Visual Studio, you can just edit the project file. Let me increase the font so you can see it better. Better? Okay, go here, I change to 2 instead of 1.1. Or if you're using Visual Studio, property, close this one. Properties, and switch to 2. Ready. It's not working yet, but we are very close to migrate it. Because if I run it, I have an error because one of the packages is not compatible with the .NET Standard 2. So another thing to do is update the packages. As you can see here, we are using application site, ASP.NET Core, ASP.NET Core MVC, static files, and so on. What the team did with the new version is create a meta package. Do you know what a meta package is? Meta package is like a package without code, just adding with some dependencies. Let me show you that this is more clear. .all anyhow. Here 2.0.0. Okay. If I go on NuGet and I write this meta package, there's no code inside, but it has a lot of dependencies. Here is everything you need to create a web application. Everything. You don't have to remind, oh, for this class, the right package was, I don't know, Microsoft.ASP.NET Core.session.spa or whatever. You just have to remember the name of the meta package. You have everything inside. Because as you can see here, you need a lot of things to run a great web application. So, now everything is ready. I can compile it. It should work. Finger crossed. Good. It works. It's migrated from 1.1 to 2.2. Nothing special. Okay. We just updated the packages and the project file. But what the team did is to simplify your code a bit more. In terms of the startup class, that as you can see here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines of code to just read the application.json file, app settings, sorry, that includes your application settings. In this case, just the login configuration. And here we are using it. So we need 1, 2, and 6, 8 lines of code for the logging. It's too much, probably. Why? Let's change it a bit. I prepared the code, don't worry. Startup, V2. Okay. We can change this code just doing this. Thanks, Sharper. Okay. And now it's working. Just remove one line of code, maybe, no more. But the good part here is the startup class. I can completely remove this code. Also this one. This will be iConfiguration. Thanks for Sharper again. And remove the logging. If it works, the logging is printing the output in the console, and the website still navigating, still working. It works. It's the same, but we removed some line of code. Easy, really easy. How does it work? Basically, this create default builder is a helper class that use a convention. The convention is you must have a app settings.json file inside your root, and if you have it, we are going to read the file and offer you in dependency injection the configuration. If I had a breakpoint here, I run application again. Quick watch. Providers, one of these is logging. This one. I don't know if you can read it. You see it? Basically, we have these values. Okay? It means it's working. It's reading the file, and you don't have to do anything. As I told you, it works by convention. But if you have a special case you want to do more that comes out of the box with this helper, of course you can. Let me go here, and this is another, way. Yippee. Okay, I removed the code and just doing this one. I'm saying, okay, create a web host, create a web server using Kestrel, integrate in IIS in case we have it, because maybe we are behind an IIS. The content root is the content root. Here we can add the configuration. I don't want the app settings.json file. I want to use my JSON file, or I have 10 different JSON files. I can do it here. I want to configure the logging in a different way. For example, I want to use the console log and the debug log just in case I'm running on a developer environment. Otherwise, I want to use Azure Web App Diagnostic because I'm running my application on Azure. This is another way to do that. With the previous version, all these kind of things was inside your startup class. Now they are moved in the program.cs files class for different reasons. The first one is to keep more clean or clean your startup class, and more because maybe you need some kind of things like Azure App Diagnostic inside your program.cs class. Because if your application is not running on Azure and you don't have the logging here, how could you know that what's wrong with your application if you have your logging inside your startup class? Startup class is not running. The problem is behind. Here is more important to have this kind of information. Okay? Everything clear? I'm talking too fast, I don't know. Just hacking. It's okay? Good. Another thing that I already mentioned in the slides is about performance. The new version is faster than the older one, faster in terms of execution time, but also faster in terms of startup time. That is really important when you are debugging, but also when you are deploying, because if you have to scale on different servers, you have to keep up and down your application very, very quickly. Let's see a super short demo that explains you better what does it mean faster. Projects. I know that you are not able to read, but I'll zoom it, don't worry. Let me zoom. How can I do that? Maybe in this way. Too much. Okay, can you see it? Okay, this is the same application that I already showed you running on 1.1. In fact, if I run .NET version is using the 1.1, okay? And if I do .NET run, it needs 363 milliseconds of my machine to run, application to be ready to serve your first HTTP request. And I'm running on Windows in a virtual machine inside the Mac. That's not the best scenario, but that's the timing. Oops. The same on the .NET Core 2, .NET run. No, not so bad. 242 is a bit faster. If I run it again, it will be super faster. Hope so. No. Close. Let's say close. Okay, in any way, it's faster, as you can see. Not so much in my machine, but in production, the difference is huge. More than 100% during the start time, but also during the compile time. Okay? Another thing that is changed is the view compilation. This is my, oops. Yes, close. My view. If I write here something that doesn't work, like hi, doesn't exist here. If I run it, I got an error, pretty sure. But I can run application. If you have a huge application with a lot of views, it could be possible that you have something that is not working on your web application. And you get this only when you try to access to this web page. What is changing? Well, if you try to deploy your application, so you try to publish on a folder in this case, publish. Come on. You got an error. Because during the publishing build, it compile each view checking your syntax that you wrote, that everything is okay inside your view. In fact, if I go here and remove this error, and I'll deploy it again, it works. Maybe. Should be. Okay, we got it. Open, bin, debug, .core 2, not here. Release, publish output. Okay, as you can see here, there is missing the views folder. We don't have it because the views are compiled and moved inside a DLL. In fact, you have here, let me, I don't know. Okay, you can see it. web application 1 point precompiled views.dll. Everything is here. If I try to decompile it, use a tool, like in this case I have .NET Peak, maybe, no, not Peak, no, Peak, no, dot, I got it. Wow. Come on, everything is slow. I think no one created a laptop so fast to run Visual Studio. Okay, if I move this one here, and this is my view. Oops. HTML is inside the DLL. We don't have to copy the view folder. It's also important for the deploying time, because you have to just deploy a single file. If you have a lot of views, so tons of files, it's better, it's faster. Okay? Now let's go to see a new feature that is called the Razor Pages. That's totally new. So close this one. Project file. It's okay. In this case is 2.2 and an empty application. Okay, this is an empty application. As you can see in the project file, we are adding the meta packages, the same meta packages we already used in the previous demo. And what we have to do here, Razor Pages, maybe I have a few slides. Razor Pages, I have it. Yeah, I got it. Razor Pages, okay. It's strange, Razor Pages, because it looks like the web forms. How many people already use the web forms? No one? Just one? Oh, yeah, good. No one should have to use web forms. It's the evil. Or better, someone told us this kind of things. It's evil, you don't have to use it. MVC is better. Long life to MVC. Okay, we're done. We will use MVC. And now we have Razor Pages that more or less is like web forms. Good one. No, I'm kidding. It's a mix behind the web forms and the Razor and the web forms and MVC, because you have the code behind exactly in the same way you have in the web forms, but they very well changed the onload method to get method, but it's the same. And they use the Razor syntax. Let me show it. Long life to Razor Pages. Because it's part of MVC, we have to add MVC services to our application. So I have to go here and services.add MVC. Okay, and here, app.add, no, use MVC. Use MVC instead of use MVC with default route, because Razor Pages are different. It doesn't use the routing system of MVC, so we don't have to configure it. The routing is related to the folder structure, and we are going to see it. First thing to do is just add a folder called Pages, and because Visual Studio is smart, we have a Razor page. Wow. Okay, index is fine for now. Come on. It's just creating one file, maybe two files. Anyone here from Microsoft? Except Matteo? You have to talk with your team because it's too slow. Because 3 minutes to get just this page with an H2 and index. Okay, this is the Razor page. There's nothing special. As you can see here, I have code behind the file, like web forms. And we have onGet method. Wow. So here we can do, no, let's start first. Maybe it doesn't work. It works. Maybe. No, it doesn't. Hello world. Oh, shit, okay. Oops. Let's try again. Okay, it's working. Index is fine. We are happy. Okay, but we have to, probably in our application, the first thing to do is we have to retrieve the information from our database, our services, or whatever. And the right place to do that is the onGet method, that is the equal to onload. So, because I want to create a list of users in this example, public class user, and public string first name, get a z, last name, I can do that, email, and finally public int ID. I'm not going to use it, but I like it. Okay, and here I have public list of users, new list of users. Okay, here this .users.add new user, first name Ugo, last name Lattanzi. Oops. Okay, same for Matteo Pagani is the bad person. Okay, I have a list of users. Suppose that this data comes from the database. Just playing. And here I can do something more. It's rather, I can use the same syntax I already used on MVC. Doesn't matter. So for each var, oops, this is not var. Car. Model.users. Oops. And is this part. Because it's public, I can access it. Okay. User, and here a div. Div is good. Okay. First name user dot first name. Last name. Email is okay. And finally, the most cool thing is HR. Okay, if I run it, it should work. Wow, it's working. I'm rendering, I'm using just Razor to create the pages without a controller, without a model. I don't have to create these kind of things that require times. I want to create a page faster. But in this case, I'm just creating a list. If I want to send some data from the client to the server, like create a new user, I have to go something more. New user. Okay, stop it. Because I want to create a new user, I'm sending the user with a page that is called new. Oh. New. Other page. New. What's wrong? Oh, the name is reserved. New user. It's a bug. Okay, our other pages, where is it? Our other pages, New pages, users, index. Yeah, my lovely HTML. Oops. Don't worry. Okay. Okay, I'm using the tag helper the same way we already do with the previous version. I'm just adding a form into the page that is sending the username, first name, it will be first name, last name, email to the server, because the scope is create a new user. It's red now, but it's okay, because in the code behind of the new user we are doing nothing. Okay. The first thing to do is create a public property called the user, in this case, where so public user. User is the same type I created into this class, is this one. Okay. And here I have to add bindable attribute. Wow. New. Bind property, maybe. Don't remember. Bind property, yes. Okay. And because I have to get from the data from the client to the server, here, if I add a breakpoint, of course there is a debug inside. And I run the application again. New user. Wow, it's working. So, my name is Ugo Lattanzi, blah, 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 at gmail.com. Submit is working, the debug is working, and user has all, oops. Let's move it. That's all I need. That comes from the client to the server. Now I can store the data into the database and use it. Okay. What's strange here, maybe, is that I'm using high action result. That is a interface that I'm already using in MVC. As I told you, it's a mix between web forms and MVC, because this looks like web forms. The code behind looks like web forms. But this looks like MVC. Okay, it's an action. If I go to see the HTML, there's nothing special. First name, input SP4. This looks like web forms, maybe. But the good part here is, inside this part, I can say, I can add a require, oops, not require HTTPS, require, just require, not require, require, required, and email address. Okay, so here, if it's not okay means the email is not valid, or the first name is missing, or something like that, I'm going to render the same page again. Okay. Otherwise, I'm redirect the user to the index page. Here, I should save the data into the database. Let's try it. Nothing. Just sending the field. Okay. The first name. The first name field is required. The last name field is required. Okay, is working exactly in the same way of MVC. In MVC, you have the binders. I'm going to use the binder. Bindable means the same. I'm using the data notation to validate, and it's working exactly in the same way. And you have no more, it's just this, nothing special. It's another way to write your web application. If you prefer to use web forms, Open One will do this. You can do it, of course. If you prefer to use MVC, it's okay, I prefer it. But if you want to create pages using Razor, it's okay. Absolutely, it's another way. It's not faster, it's the same, no more. Okay? How much time? 10 minutes, wow. Okay. Let's talk about something different. SignalR. How many people use SignalR in production? Or just playing? Not so much. Okay. SignalR is a framework built on top of .NET framework. It is not running on .NET Core. And the new one will do it. And the scope of this framework is to help you to create a real-time web application. Real-time web application means a game, for example, or just if you need to update some data on the page, because, I don't know, if you think about a stock, you have to update the price very frequently, or, I don't know, in a chat, if I'm writing you, I have to send the data to the client without the client. Basically, the client doesn't need to refresh the page. It comes from the server. It's a push from the client to the server and vice versa. It's a full duplex communication because there is a permanent connection. Okay. The first version is okay, is good, more or less, except for it works only with your client. It doesn't work with the pure WebSocket. That's strange because WebSocket is a standard. It comes from W3C and is saying, okay, WebSocket, this is the signature of WebSocket. Everybody should be able to communicate in this way. It's a standard, okay? Not for him. Because right now, this is the way you are connecting from the client to SignalR. I have a demo for the people who don't know what the SignalR is. Basically, there is a client that is trying to connect to a hub. Hub is a class, a C# class, that have the scope to get the message from the client. For example, here I'm saying to the server, I'm logged in. Say to hold the client that I'm in the chat, for example, okay? But I have to communicate with this class that has the scope to send a message to everybody. Okay, Ugo is online, you can talk with him. That's the scope. But here is the message hub that has the scope to send messages. And maybe here there are, I don't know, product or whatever. Doesn't matter, it's night, it's too late. Okay, the problem is that you are not able right now to connect from here to here in SignalR. You have to use, you are connected from the client to the server, but not exactly to the hub. That is a mistake because the hub manager, I call it hub manager, it doesn't have a real name, dispatch the messages from the client to the right hub. And basically, this created the problem that you are not able to connect from the client to the server without to use the SignalR proxy. It means if you are creating a web page and you are trying to connect from the client to the server to SignalR, the old version, you have to use jQuery, that it's the evil. No one should use jQuery. So someone told me that, I don't know why, but it seems a problem. And if you're using Java, for example, you have to use the client released by the team. If you are using the same for Xamarin or whatever. It's not a standard if you have to use a library that comes from the team. Finally, they change everything. You can connect direct from the client to the server. There is no the hub manager, and that's okay because you can do it in a different ways. First thing, here we have the new feature of SignalR Core, that it's the new version built on top of .NET Core, .NET Standard 2, so it doesn't run on .NET Core 1.1. And it supports the binary data, so you can send more things in the connection. It's host agnostic, you can run it not only on HTTP, but also on TCP or whatever. That's pretty good. Oops. One hub, one connection, I already told you. And this part is really cool because you could have different clients that are speaking different languages. It means, okay, there is a connection between the client to the server, but my client is not talking JSON, for example, because I'm an IoT environment, and JSON, the output of JSON is too big because I have a poor connection. I have to send something that is smaller. Okay, and so I'm sending, I don't know, protobuf, I'm sending binary or whatever. But the web page speaks just JSON. So you have the same things already exist in MVC that is called content negotiation. during the handshake between the client and the server, basically I'm saying to the server, okay, I'm the client, I want to connect, but I'm speaking JSON. Are you able to send me the JSON? Yes or no, that's the point. Of course, you can create your different format, your custom format, doesn't matter. Pure WebSocket client, this is what I already told you, you don't have to use its own proxy. And in case you are using TypeScript for the JavaScript, you have the library with all the benefits that comes out of the box with TypeScript. How many? 5 minutes. Yeah. Okay, I already told you this, so I'm going to skip it. It's the content negotiation, and let's jump to the demo. Project. SignalR simples, move shapes. For the people who don't know what SignalR is, this is a good example. Super complicated. Oops. Okay, I have a red square. This is HTML. I can drag it, and it moves on the other instance. Okay. I'm not refreshing the page. If you see here, oops, move down. Where is it? Okay, network. The page is not refreshing. It's working. Okay, there's no call from this client to the server or polling or something like that. If you go here, WebSocket, and I refresh the page, there is a connection from the client to the server. Okay, I'm connected. Let me zoom it. Okay. Okay. And if I go to the frames, I have to zoom out again. Wow. Let's try. No. Frame. Increase. Okay. Every time I move, do you see it? That the data is changing? Here, basically the server is sending a message. Wait. Okay. Shape moved. Something is moving. Okay, the shape in this case. And these are the coordinates. The x. Let me show the code. This is. Oops. Let's go to the hub. Where is the hub? Hub. Move shape. This is the method. I'm just creating a method that the client can call, sending the x here, the new coordinates. What I'm doing here, okay. Someone told me that a shape is moving. This is the new coordinate. The client take the coordinates and move the shape again using JavaScript. It's really simple. Let's show the code. Okay, I'm connecting from the client to the server. This is the connection to the shape hub, is this one, just to be clear. And shape moved is this middle. Where is it? This one? I don't know why it's changed here from move shape to shape moved. Anyway, doesn't matter. And okay, just using CSS, move the shape, no more. It's really simple. And when connection start, we're using jQuery, just make the square draggable. Every time you drag it, send the new coordinates to the socket, because this is the socket. Invoke the method move shape, that is this one. The method itself forward the coordinate to a shape moved event. It's like a circle, you know. And I think it's all because we have no more time, right? Right. Sorry, guys. Again, Thanks for coming. Thanks for inviting me. If you have any question, here are my addresses, email or whatever. I think we have 5 minutes for talking.
Yeah, we have time for several questions, so please raise your hands. Who wants to ask something?
Here we go.
Hello, my name is Alex and I have a short question. Can you tell a few words about the pipeline of the request coming to the .NET Core application?
What does it mean with the pipeline? The pipeline isn't changed between the 1.1 and the 2.0.
Well, you're saying about 2.0, so tell us about 2.0.
Sorry?
Well, you mean the pipeline it's different from first version to the second version?
Not the pipeline. You are talking about ASP.NET Core, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the pipeline is the same. It works in the same way. What is different is the runtime and the libraries. But the pipeline is absolutely the same. What is deeply changed from the 1.x, or 1.0 or 1.1 to the 2.0 about the pipeline probably is the authentication. The authentication is totally revamped, and I didn't show you because no one really knows how does it work really, included the team, and because also we don't have time, it needs a special session for this part, but the pipeline is exactly the same, doesn't change. You are the responsibility to manage your pipeline because you are able to add your middleware. I mean, let me show you the code. The goal of .NET Core was as lean as you like, more or less. So, in an empty application, the pipeline is super lean, there's nothing. If you see the startup class, really nothing, just this one. When you add here app.use MVC, app.use authentication, or I don't know, use something else, use the router, use the writer, use the file server. You are changing the pipeline of your application. Here, this is the pipeline. I don't know, is what you were expecting? It's okay? Okay, good.
Great. Thank you very much for the answer. Unfortunately, we are out of time. So let's say thank you to our speakers. That was an amazing presentation.
Thank you very much.